Shireen Bishmaya. I'm in LA, right on the dark of the moon. Tomorrow actually is the new moon in Scorpio, but as we're building up to the really super dark moments, it's a good time to check into the Scorpio area of your horoscope to see what is in the process of going through. I know it's very cliche in Scorpio season to talk about death rebirth, but there is a major death rebirth going on right now. So check to where you have Scorpio in your chart, because it's not just this new moon that's so powerful, but we've also had Mercury in Scorpio getting ready to station to go retrograde in Scorpio, and Venus in Scorpio. So a lot of even the planet Mars, which rules Scorpio, being in Libra, has been answering to Mars. Has been answering to Scorpio. So the Scorpio energy has been dominant in the sky. So a lot of people have been saying, oh, even before Scorpio season officially started on the 23rd last week, they had really felt the strong Scorpio energy. So this is only going to get stronger now as we lead into this new moon on Sunday. So use this time to really seed your intentions for the next 6 months around what you want to relinquish, finally let go of. If there's still something you're grieving, some kind of loss, this is a chance to really process that. I think as we get deeper into the Mercury retrograde starting on Wednesday, we'll have a chance to go even more into the processing. I think Mercury retrograde in Scorpio is an excellent influence to help us actually go deeper into those losses or those areas where we might have shoved things into the psychic closet, so to speak, because Scorpio really unearths everything hidden, all the secrets, especially when Mercury's retrograde. It's also a little bit of an underworld experience, Mercury retrograde in Scorpio. So this is a very powerful new moon. It's that time of the year which is already feeling dark. I mean, it's only 8:30 here and it feels so dark. It's like when the days get shorter and shorter in the northern hemisphere leading up to the winter solstice. When we're in the dark of the moon, we really feel the darkness. And the other big thing that's been going on this week is Mars has been squaring Saturn, which is perfecting on the new moon, on the dark of the moon. So that's also been a very slow you down, sludge put screeching brakes, just putting all of our energies into over the level beyond exhaustion. So we've got Mars square Saturn, and then right after the new moon, Mars is squaring Pluto. We also just had a lot of nodal action last week too, so there's been a lot of questions around direction and fate. I'm actually here in Los Angeles because I just did an event for the Assembly, the place that I am the resident astrologer for here in San Francisco. No, I'm not in San Francisco, I'm in Los Angeles, but they had a pop-up here in LA, and I did little mini readings for people, and everyone was going through big changes right now. I mean, it was across the board. Everyone was like, I don't know, I just feel like I'm in the throes of some major upheaval and change, and I'm not quite sure what's on the other side. And a lot of people have been saying that and feeling that for the last, if not the entire year, last several years, that something is dying, something is really, that's like this old pattern. I mean, and we're at the end of a decade. We've only got 2 months left pretty much of this decade. So it is a big time of endings, and Scorpio always signifies endings. It's the death archetype in the tarot, the 13th major arcana, the number that, of course, people always avoid the 13, but it's such an important number for transformation and death and rebirth. So I definitely recommend, if you work with the tarot, to work with that energy, that archetype. And I'm actually launching my rebirth, speaking of rebirth in Scorpio, rebirth of Project 40. I did 40 of them starting in 2010, and the rebirth is happening starting on right after this new moon, so starting on Monday. So Sunday's the new moon in Scorpio, and Monday is day 1 of a 40-day Scorpio immersion. The theme is called Envy, but we're going to also be going into all the Scorpio layers of the psyche. So we're going to be dealing with death and rebirth, and of course envy is a big one that we're going to be covering. That's the overarching theme, because I feel like so much of our power and our passion and our life force gets trapped under the unspoken silent killer, which is envy, which we're all on one end or the other of, and usually both at the same time. It's just something that it's like a plague in the collective unconscious that we're not even aware of or calling out. So I feel this is really important work to do. And even if you think, well, I don't have it or it's not a part of my life, you'll be surprised. And there's no shame. It's about really delving into that, because you're probably more on the receiving end than you realize, and you don't know consciously just how destructive that's been your whole life, and maybe stopped you even from doing certain things that you've wanted to do, that you felt passionately about, but you hadn't realized that the envy from others had been in a silent but deadly way influencing you. So we're going to be digging into all of that. So you can still join us. There's still a couple days left to join us. So with Caitlin Foisey, my partner in crime, she does all the rituals. She brings the rituals in. And so it's a really powerful 40-day journey. But we're using the energy of this new moon, which, I think for all of us, it's so essential right now to look at what the shadow is. I mean, I'm always talking about shadow work. I've done a lot of podcasts recently, interviews about the shadow work that I do, because everyone's really starting to recognize just how essential it is to delve into all those areas of the psyche that we normally fear to tread, or we don't actually want to put our attention on because it's uncomfortable. So, but it is so essential. So this is the time of year to do it. The veil is also very thin as we're getting closer and closer to Halloween on Wednesday, the Day of the Dead on Thursday. Halloween's on Thursday. The Day of the Dead is on Friday. I'm thinking Wednesday because Wednesday was Scorpio season initiation last Wednesday. So Thursday's Halloween, Friday's Day of the Dead, and the veil is getting thinner and thinner. So this is the time also to commune with the ancestors, to check in and just kind of see what spiritual work needs to be done, what legacies you're carrying either consciously or unconsciously, and to do the deeper work. I said in a post recently that I am never a fan of spiritual bypassing, but I feel more than ever it's actually dangerous to not do the deeper work, to not go into those places where you need to go, and to just look at those things that have had power over you. That's why I'm doing the envy theme, but you may have your own things. I've just noticed that that's so pervasive in social media and just in the culture we live in, the competition. And we're not in competition with anyone. We're on our own path, and Scorpio can really get you back in touch with your desires and empower you to stop the compare and despair that happens in the Libra season, because Libra is really where we get into that social comparison mode. Scorpio helps kind of kill that off and get you deeper into yourself and your passion and your true value system, because the opposite of Scorpio is Taurus, which, speaking of, this new moon has an opposition to Uranus in Taurus. So it's an excellent, excellent time for unexpected breakthroughs. You can't predict them, you can't control them. It's not about controlling, forcing, or pushing anything right now. We have to surrender into the unknown, and then the breakthrough can happen. You just have to show up and listen deeply, because Uranus and Taurus is all about that deep, deep listening quality. So if you're willing to show up and listen to your body, listen to your life with all 5 senses, you can get some really powerful messages right now. So that's your task under the new moon in Scorpio, and to plant those seeds of what you would like to see unveil. I feel like Scorpio new moon is like this kind of shedding or tearing away of layers to get to a deeper level of truth. So what are you willing to relinquish in order to get to something that you feel passionately about and that has lasting value for you on a really deep level, like something that you would just want to give. I always feel Scorpio's like that do or die energy, something you would just give everything for. What is that in your life? And are you dedicated to that, devoted to that with everything you've got? Because Scorpio really requires no less than that. So use this new moon to really contemplate those things, and Mercury retrograde is going to give us a chance to cover old ground in the Scorpio area of our chart and to figure out what we are really passionate about, what we would go to hell and back for. That's the Scorpio. So I will be back with a more in-depth video on the Mercury retrograde in Scorpio as we get closer, but we're already in the preview section of it with this new moon. So I wish you a beautiful and deliciously dark new moon in Scorpio. Thanks so much for watching.